This is the Pan-African Live Debate, and it happens here every Friday. This show is sponsored by Fairway Hotel and TV Africa Channel 45. This show runs on Sundays at 2:30 p.m. on TV Africa, so be sure to watch the show. We saw last sometime back, about 2 weeks ago, an American got infected with Ebola. A doctor who had come to treat Ebola in Liberia. When he got infected, he was flown away to America for treatment. But this is a doctor who had come to treat Ebola. And then you get the same disease and you say, you fly me away. So what does it tell an African? Did this man come with medicine? Because if you had come with medicine, you'd use the same medicine. So how come those and other questions. There is another, another side of the story, that it could be true that some of these diseases, Marburg, Ebola, and AIDS, these are things that are created, manufactured by Americans to continue controlling Africa.
Commend the effort of keeping the dialogue and the discussions that affect Africans going. As you know, I am a pastor, and people often get surprised that a pastor is also a Pan-Africanist. I am both a Pan-Africanist and a Christianist, and those two are not in contradiction. I came with my good friend, Mr. Jerome Mutege. He's a lecturer at Makerere. He's a PhD scholar now, whose focus is also on Ebola as a transboundary disease in the Great Lakes area. I summoned the head of the Director of Medical Services, Dr. Mbonye, to my program, and he came last week. I asked him if we were prepared to deal with Ebola. And he told me that we were. However, I noted that they had just drawn a budget and the budget had not even been funded. And they were hoping that donors and others will come and put money in the basket. As of now, I have not seen any robust evidence that shows that money has been put into the effort. If you go into hotels, you see small little photocopies, black and white, on Ebola, which is an indication that really the money has not gone out. I was told also the same that we have an isolation unit at Molago. I visited it for inspection, and I made a quotation on my Twitter handle that it looks like the waiting room before you die. I asked another question concerning surveillance and tracking of people, because I asked him what would it take for him as the medical officer to call Jennifer Musisi to suspend the Kampala Carnival in the interest of public safety. You need to know that politicians and businessmen sometimes make decisions which jeopardize or put in danger the lives of people for purposes of businesses. And I noted that it was 10 days from when the first case of Marburg fever was identified when it was announced. That is 10 days. In fact, all the people who were involved, who buried the radiologist from Mengo, did not know that they were handling someone with something as dangerous as Marburg or Ebola, an Ebola type. And the reason why was, he told me that they had not received the results back of the test. So apparently, it's still, while we have, I believe we have a laboratory in Entebbe now, we do not have a rapid response. I mean, this is a person who got sick, he was taken to PG, came back from Mengo, he got through, was bleeding, he died, was sent to Fort Kasese for burial. Even the relatives were not warned that the person you are burying could be infectious. It was only after the fact. And so I am quite concerned that while we may have statements that we are ready and robust, the experience of Wananchi on the ground is that our current state is not yet ready. Money needs to be budgeted for, facilities need to be put into place, and our politicians and those who make decisions need to get comfortable with making the call. I would like to maybe bring to the point the issue of, I'm a firm supporter of soccer. I'm a very firm supporter of football and Africa. But really, in a day and age where there is a heightened level of risk on Ebola, I want to ask the sports authority, at what point do they make a phone call and say, no, we will not have that soccer match with a team that may come from a compromised country? At what point? And I need to see it. And this is holding our leaders accountable. Do they need to see someone's temperature? What is the level at which someone takes the political responsibility and say, look, we are going to cancel that football match in the interest of public safety and public order? We need that one. But I did not get the sense. And you know, when you have a carnival, do you know what, Mr. Rumba, you understand what a confusion a carnival offers? The fact that people are mingling all over the place, and yet there is absolutely very little. So I'm quite concerned. While we may discuss the weaponized source of the Ebola, to me I am asking a relevant question also. Are we prepared in our country? If so, can somebody show me what is being done to prepare the people? I was interviewing the mother of this young man who was a newsreader on NTV, Gabriel. I visited him. He had an accident and they had to take him to Mulago. And as he was in ICU, they were on life support. Power went. There was no electricity. Are you hearing? There was no power. Now, in light of that, there is need to put money towards generators or preparing a place. So we already have a problem that we do have, but we need to go ahead and prepare even better. You have raised an issue in our discussion that we are going to look at. Is there a responsible arm of America or Europe in the outbreak? I do not claim to know, but I have noted the strange coincidences that the University of Tulane was undertaking research in the areas where the outbreak has taken place. The people themselves in the countries affected are very hostile to America and American medical workers. They are saying that the people who claim to give them vaccine were actually infecting them. So it could be, I don't know. We live in a world of evil men and evil people. We have ever had a situation where black men were infected with the syphilis. There's an old experiment they did on black men. I have looked at research on the emergence of HIV/AIDS in the Great Lakes region, and it coincides greatly. If you look, I believe the book by The River, I forget the writer, but he does impeccable research that shows that the development of this polio vaccine, it necessitated the use of chimpanzee and animal livers and content in the development of the polio vaccine. And yet those animals have tested positive for the simian immunosuppressing virus, SIV. And so there is the development of that is a conversation of HIV/AIDS, is a conversation people have really worked hard not to have. People work very hard not to talk about the source of HIV. In fact, if you want to get into trouble with the Western donors, start a conversation on where did HIV/AIDS come from? What is the role? What preceded? Is there a correlation? And that book, The River, I forget the name of the writer, it's a really humongous book, give impeccable information on the development of HIV. And its correlation with the global systems of World Health and others. Is Ebola a virus that has been weaponized, genetically modified? It's a good question to ask. My experience with HIV creates suspicion. The response of American government to release military and send airborne combatants to respond to Ebola does not take away that role. It just creates even more suspicion. How do you respond to an epidemic with a contingent of military Air Force battalion being sent to West Africa? Even Britain is also sending military. So we are wondering, and there are many questions to be asked on that issue. Some may say it is a fruitless discussion, but I think it's a fruitful discussion. It's a fruitful discussion. I recommend a free exercise of debate, bringing the results, asking questions. What was American researchers doing in West Africa? What was the impact of the people they vaccinated? What kind of vaccines were these? Why did the epidemic break out in the very area where they were undertaking research? How comes those questions are being suffocated now? When people ask, they label you an extremist, someone who's diverting away. Why is it now that they are trying to link Ebola with the terrorist organization like ISIS, who have no correlation at all? Is that diversionary, diverting us from a real discussion of people who are responsible? And I think that the last part would be, is if people have been responsible, then they should put money in helping us to respond to it.
Madam Aida Bomushana from TV Africa, you are welcome. I also welcome Comrade Justin Akile from Nigeria. He's a Nigerian. And let me go straight to Mr. Ntege from Makerere University. Mr. Ntege, I would like to have your opinion on the debate today.
My name is Ntege Jerome. I come from the Department of Anthropology and Sociology in Makerere. I'm also a PhD student on transborder diseases, and specifically on Ebola. So I started writing my concept ideas on Ebola last year. And what for me, my interest would be to find out how people think about Ebola and the measures they put forward. But for this specific debate, so in fact, I should also say this, that during that time I wrote my thing, I even got a scholarship. I went to Muzunguland in Norway. I remember meeting a couple of many doctors, now presenting them this issue that we have in Africa. That was in June And then we have Ebola. Ebola is killing, it's a big problem. They told me, no, Ebola is a small tropical disease in Africa that cannot kill so many people because once you get it, you die. And they really discouraged me to think of Ebola as a problem. Later in July, the problem had become a major issue. In August, they wrote to me and said, are you still interested in studying Ebola? I said, yeah, I'm still interested, but you discouraged me. So I continued with my talk about Ebola. Many of the blogs I can cite, by the time we're done here, I can give you more than 10 websites and others talking about Ebola as a biological weapon. And America has never been out of it to say the only reason why people want to talk about Ebola is that Ebola can be a serious biological weapon. It can be used quickly. My concern, though, is that people who are writing about these issues are not Africans. They are Americans. The same Americans are telling us Ebola is killing you. The same Americans are telling us Ebola is manufactured. The same Americans are telling us Ebola doesn't exist. The same Americans are telling us Ebola comes from monkeys. Now, if you study the debate of where Ebola comes from, you actually can forget to talk about the Ebola that is killing people. Because from time immemorial, people in West Africa, they have eaten monkeys. It's diet, it's delicacy for them. And there is no scientific proof that Ebola comes from monkeys or bats. There is no single, trust me, there is no single. Now, who tells us it's a biological weapon is an American. Who comes to tweet it is an American. Who questions it is an American. So partly, I don't want as African to spend much time debating the biological work of Americans. First, we have to think about what can we do to handle the problem of Ebola.
Threat or a disease?
It is a disease and a security threat. One sick person in America can cause a real stampede in a place. Why is Uganda considered a specialist in Ebola? Because we had the biggest outbreak of Ebola before this one in West Africa in 2000 and 2001. That happened in northern Uganda. What happened is that the assumption was the soldiers that came from Congo had the disease. When people were dying, it was time of war. There was no medication, there was nothing. What happened that they tried to set up hospitals, but locally we handled the problem using local means, not using money. What did we do? They employed what we call a GMO protocol. The actually people, in their wisdom, they had a system of dealing with a disease like Ebola. For them, they named it GMO. And within a GMO, they were able to eradicate the problem even without money and without anybody. So for me, why is it a biological weapon? I don't know. But we have to agree it is a security biological threat to anybody, to any nation. It is not like AIDS. And AIDS, it's more marketable to manage AIDS with money than to manage Ebola. Because if you're managing HIV/AIDS, you have condoms, you have many of these things that deal with, so there's more money, the vaccines, and the AIDS started from America. Even Ebola, we talk about Marburg in 1967, Marburg in Germany. So they had these kind of problems. They tell us Ebola started in 1976. No, 1967, they had Marburg in Germany. In all West Europe, they had these problems. So they had issues of Ebola. My question I put on the table, can we trust the sources that tell us that Ebola is manufactured? Can we trust them? And as we deal with them, what are they doing to tell us about that? If you tell me this guy is killing you, okay, why are you telling me? You are an American. Your country is killing us. You are telling us your country is killing us. I kind of think that Africans, we have to think for ourselves. And we have to find ways of solving part of our problems. And for my case, I think Ebola, we cannot say put controls, don't allow people to come to Uganda or to go to Kenya. Because everyone, when you start controlling Uganda, denying other people to come in Uganda, you leave the disease on the mercy of the border people who are in the remote area and there are no hospitals. But monkeys don't ask for passports. Monkeys don't go for visa. If a bat wants to move from Congo to Uganda, it doesn't ask for a visa. It will fly, my friend. If a monkey wants to cross from Congo to Uganda, does it need a visa? Does it go to customs and say, check me? When you got the airport there, people are checking you for temperatures. I'm wondering how many birds and monkeys and baboons being checked at Bunagana or any other place. So these are showbiz of people trying to say we are preventing you from entering. I think we must come up with ways of handling our problems using our traditional methods. And one of the key examples was the Acholi method. We used our traditional method. The media people talk about Ebola and cholera. Sematima was a girl who came up and said, Ebola, bongele yotonsig Ebola. It was a key issue. People adopted it. It worked. So I think we must come up with our indigenous things as Africans to deal with this issue. As I finish, I'll tell you, we used to have a problem called measles. In my culture, Baganda, we call it omulangira. When a kid has measles, there are protocols put in place. 1, that kid does not mix with other kids. 2, that kid does not eat with other kids. 3, that kid does not go to the well. 4, that kid does not move from the courtyard. 5, that the parents don't have sex until that kid is healed. There are clear protocols in African setting of how to deal with measles.
You forgot the 7th one. The 7th one is that kid does not sleep with any other kid.
You see, these were original. I assume Africans have ways of dealing with the issues of Ebola kind of things than for us to depend on the media in West Africa. Telling a journalist who goes and interview a media patient in Africa when they know they are going to die. They depend on what the Muzungu, the fellow white guys communicate to them. World Health Organization knew that Ebola is breaking out in West Africa right in March. They responded in July. Now, why should we wait for them to tell us this is a biological weapon, this is an American weapon? I think we need to think ourselves what's the problem and we handle our own problem. Thank you.
Mr. Justice. Mr. Justice is a student of engineering at the Kampala International University. He comes from Nigeria, whose president is seeking for a re-election, and whose Nigeria and whose president, 200 girls of his country are still lost in the bush. Boko Haram went with them. America does not have the settlers to see those 200 girls in a bush.
Thank you very much. The topic you sent to me is Ebola and GMOs made by West to reduce the African population. Yeah. The answer is capital yes. Capital yes, because there's a word called genocide. There's a word called genocide. Genocide, the meaning of genocide is reducing the population of a certain group without going close to them, shooting them one after the other, without bombing them. It's a systematic way, it's a process that is involved. We call that genocide. Africans have faced genocide in so many ways. When I mean so many, it's so many. Anything that has to do with reducing of population is called genocide. Ebola is genocide. Homosexual is genocide. HIV and AIDS is genocide. You come down to Ebola and GMOs, if you really read the history, or if you read what GMOs is all about and what Ebola is all about, you can't tell me that it's not another strategy. The HIV that my father was emphasizing there was true, because really, we have scientists that speak something that can happen in 20, 50 years ago from US, that can make research about millions years ago in US, but common HIV and AIDS that started probably, what, is it in 70s or 80s, in 60s, would not know or find a solution of AIDS.
Yeah.
We have doctors, we have professors that analyzed these GMOs. White men, they were not blacks. How GMOs is causing so much harm to them in America. And that is what is being passed to Uganda's parliament, to all some African countries, that we should accept these GMO seeds. Come on, we are Africans. How can you tell me to plant chemical seeds? We know that if you plant, you plant a seed, and if you harvest, you reserve some, sell some, eat some, so that next year you plant again. GMOs don't do that. You buy. After every year you buy. What is the meaning of that? So GMO causes cancer. GMO causes so many things. In fact, even psychologically, children that were eating or that were feeding on GMO food in America were having some problems in their schools and in health. You understand? So now they were trying to bring this system to us, so as to do what? To reduce the population of Africa and to get access to the same natural resources that they have taken, and it's not enough for them. Now, my friend Irumba was saying that in Nigeria about 200 girls were missing. Yes, they are missing, but Obama could not spot them in Nigeria, yet they have cameras, but they can spot one person. What can you analyze? How can you analyze that case? 200 girls, and they said it's in the forest in Borno State, in the northern part of Nigeria. We even know that these girls are in the forest in Borno State, in the northern part of Nigeria, in which the camera is very, or the satellite is very easy. It's even easier for the camera to even, for the satellite to even capture it. I read a paper, I think 3 months ago, that Abubakar, a man, he said, even that Boko Haram is a military strategy from US. Boko Haram is military strategy from US or something. He was trying to point out that even that Boko Haram was from US. He would implement all these things. Homosexuals, GMOs, and what have you. When Uganda refused homosexuals and homosexuality bill, Obama was so mad with Uganda. Why will you tell me that? In fact, Museveni clearly said in his speech that you cannot come and control my family. You can't come and control me. Yes, you can control anything, but you can't tell me how to run my family. Museveni, your president, our president says so. So I tell you clearly that GMOs and Ebola is a strategy of reducing the population of we Africans.
Justice. Now, that's what I want you to tell me. Justice, is the problem the American or the problem is you, the African?
Very well, that is a very good question. Now, the problem is we, the Africans. We are the problem.
Thank you so much.
No, you can't. We are not the problem.
Give him the mic. Someone pass the mic to him.
We are not necessarily the sole problem of what we are.
Let him give you the mic.
The burden of an African man is controlled with external forces.
I agree.
We have to agree on that.
I agree with you.
Let's see the diseases we have in Africa. The number one killer disease in Africa is malaria. Malaria was the only thing that protected Africans from being consumed by the white man. The white man has the capacity to come.
How did that, maybe how did
it protected us because every white man wanted to come to Africa. The first thing they fear of is malaria.
Yeah, definitely.
So malaria has been our greatest friend in Africa, in protecting Africans against the invasions of the white people. However, the white people, they have the capacity to come up with a vaccine. You don't understand how the global health system works. You must invest some money to get vaccines. What Indonesia did sometime about bad flu, when they got cases of bad flu, they refused, not what was it, but one of the influencers, they ate something. They refused to share their, they refused to share the how do you call them, the specimens to the World Health and NDC. They said, we are not giving you this. Why? Because you are going to use it to make vaccines and our poor people will have to buy it. So they are saying we are establishing sovereignty over the virus, viral sovereignty by Indonesia. They said we cannot give you this because you are going to use it to make vaccines. And the vaccines are going to be for your people, not our people. And there is no way we can give your industries, because when they give you this, like when you take this medicine for, I don't know, NDC to CDC in America, they make the vaccines. When white people are sick, they are taken to America, they get healed. When the black people are sick, they die in Africa. People who have the capacity to make the vaccines are in America. If an African come up with a vaccine, you have to be regulated and certified by World Health Organization. Professor Sally came up with some medicine to do with HIV/AIDS. We all know Ugandans. He was denied access to that until the man died. And this medicine was being used in Ghana. So the problem is not only us. We are controlled. Let me go back to Western media.
Wait a minute.
The media that gives you this information. Who owns that media? Who owns Al Jazeera? Who owns BBC? Who owns CNN? Who owns them? The same guys. For that matter, I will ask this question. If Ebola is a biological weapon, for the Americans and whatever, they have no question about that. The reason they are responding militarily is biological weapon. What is our country and our leaders doing in the response if Ebola is a biological weapon? Tell me one medical center that has been put at the border. When you got the border, there's a military battalion, there's customs union checking money. I don't see a hospital. I don't see ways of treating sickness there. So the Africans and the African leaders, they go to World Summit to do what? What do we get from there? We get nothing. So the problem is not us here. Until I want to say, I have hope because we have survived so many biological, ebolonic kind of things. We have the capacity to think. Time will come,
but I don't
shall overcome.
Let me take you back, because you say at the entrance at the airport.
Yes.
You don't see a doctor that this one is doing this, but there are those other, URA systems and URA.
No, at the airport, yes.
Yes.
There is URA. There are doctors putting some temperature on you. But I will ask you, where is the hospital?
Now,
at the airport.
Now, that was my question, Mr. Anteki. That do you think an American has stopped Ugandan president, the Ministry of Health, to put up a clinic at the airport? Has an American stopped African Ugandan from doing that? That's why I'm saying.
Our money is regulated by IMF.
Wait a minute.
Our budgets are controlled outside our area.
Mr. Anteki, let's go slow. I know IMF controls money.
Yes.
But do you think because IMF controls money, that's why we don't have a clinic at the airport? Is that the reason? That's why I wanted to agree with one of our views, that is the American the problem to Africa, or it is us the African?
Thank you very much. But the question is, as if it is a conflicting loyalty, that American a problem to Africa, or we are the problem. Yes. So, as if the question it should be like this: American a cause of a problem to Africa, or we are the cause of a problem to Africa? Because we don't have a problem.
My name is Abdul Nol.
Not Abdul Kadir?
No, Abdul Nol. I'm a journalist, and and I was sent by Professor Kiuran Kuba.
Thank you so much.
My teacher. The question is very clear, but I have my comment is like you are blaming a victim. We are the victims of all kind of atrocities committed on us as African people. And there is a phrase that says, if you educate a person, you will be able to control his behaviors, whether you are there or not. That is the education system. What kind of education system we have it in Africa until we will be able to have a self-determination of everything. So for me, we can't blame the victim. Up to now, we are victims of the Western education, whether media or everything, because even if you go to the church, when the day we have a white guest, people sing very highly. If you go to the mosque, if there is a white Arab man or any white Arab man came, when they want to pray, the prayers, they will give it to the white. So we need a self-African education from our history, not from his story about us. Thank you.
Now, let me just read a few things here.
Someone says, is Ebola just a result of health crisis in Africa because of the large gaps in personnel, equipment, and medicines? Or some experts suggest this isn't true at all. This is just a propaganda being put out by everyone. It seems to me that what we are dealing with here is a biological warfare that was conducted at the biowarfare laboratories set up by the USA on the west coast of Africa. Let me go to Madam Ida Romshana.
Good evening. My name is Ida Romshana, and from TV Africa. I'm going to make a very small comment. It's really short, but the comment involves me to assert what the question that he asked. Are we the problem, or are they the problem, the Americans that are bringing the diseases? A few years ago, I met a man called Kaihuran Kuba. On a forum that is very similar. So he tells me, I heard you speak, and if it's okay with you, I would like to meet up with you and put some issues on the table for you. I agreed. I stayed with him for about a period of 3 months, during which he gave me reading material, intensive reading material, and documentaries and videos to have a look at. So at the end of it, I asked him, why are you putting me through this grueling process? So he tells me, look, one of the biggest problems that we as Africans have is because we are not armed with information. And the biggest weapon that you can have is information about your history, where you're coming from, and where you're going. And of course, you're the minority, you're not wanted. The New World Order involves you being done away with. So my point of pointing out all these things is that whether you like it or not, you're much better off with your own history. Please get the information to educate you on your history, and then it will give you the answer that Mr. Antege said, that I find very interesting, and I think very few people picked up on it. He's saying the reality of it is here. Ebola is here. The GMOs are here. What are you doing to make a difference? And I'm saying to you, arm yourself with information. And then it will give you an easy pathway to find out what you should do about it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam Ida Romshana. Ida Romshana, yes, I'm right. Thank you so much. Is a GMO made by the West to exterminate African population? That is the topic.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Iromba, and all the discussants. To make a correction, my name is Ategeka. I was born a Pan-Africanist. I don't do with those English names. And wherever I go, whether I'm in Uganda or anywhere, I say I'm Ategeka. That's the correction that I wanted to make. Now, my point is, as we are dealing with this very, very, very dangerous issue, and we all know that the Western world have never, ever wished us anything good. I'm a man who comes from Western Uganda, that is Fort Portal. We have not actually had such ways of dealing with epidemics. Thinking deeply, if you are saying that we are waiting to be liberated, as you have said it when you are finishing right now, and the labor rate is going to come out of us, how far have we gone deep to think?
Let me have Mr. Rukundo Edwin.
I'm Rukundo Edwin from LOTC.
Thank you.
The topic, which is Ebola being a bioweapon. I believe it's a bioweapon because from many cases, like I just want to believe, like these companies, the Bill and Melinda Foundation, they have had very many, I can say, conspiracies. Like they make vaccines to inject people, like the little children, the polio vaccine, the tetanus vaccine. We have the propeller for family planning, with all the aims of
The researcher could help us.
Yeah, as for them, you're going to help us about it. The propeller is a family planning pill.
AIDS is a myth.
Not reveal
in Africa. Okay. Thank you so much. Let me give this mic to the gentleman. Yes.
My name is Tuseme Reza, and I love to be a Pan-Africanist.
Thank you.
And when you hear of those names, there is no any English name.
Yeah.
So I'd like to support my fellow colleague Itege of what he has been saying, and Mr. Ategeka of what they're saying. But for me, what I'm saying is, for us Africans, we should look away of how we should control AIDS. Because based on what they've said, him and some other people, they say this is a weaponized disease. So we should put strategies of how to control these things.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much.
Gentlemen, I greet you in your different capacity. I am called Longole, and that's my original name. And if you want to abuse me, you use a fake name called John Bosco.
But you have abused yourself here in the book.
No problem, because I was, it was because of ignorance I was damned there to that name.
Okay, Mr. Longole, without abusing you, let's go to the topic.
All these viral diseases are made from, they're just manufactured. If you go to the history of Africa, long time ago, Africa have never experienced these things of viral diseases. And they used to treat themselves, just even malaria, as if even malaria has been fuel to become stronger than the local herbs of African use. Actually, my advice to African leaders, it is to forget being used to kill their own brothers.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Longole. Before you wind up, I don't know whether Mr. Ramsigas Chakunzi. Is Mr. Ramsigas Chakunzi? He is the communications head at TV Africa.
Well, Ebola is a myth. I have a colleague of mine, he's from Nigeria. He told me that they have been eating those monkeys ever since like time immemorial. They eat monkeys. You get it?
Which myth?
Yeah, so it's not true that Ebola is from bats. That's a myth. That's one hell of a myth, by the way. The other myth I found out is that the people who have died from Ebola are actually less than 200. In that regard, please allow me to, if you haven't watched TV Africa before, please, that's the only thing you have to do. From here, you watch TV Africa. Because since you've been here, I think you're well versed with our motion and all that. All this is covered on TV Africa. Thank you very much.
I thank you, his colleague, and all the crew of TV Africa. I thank you, Mr. Jerome, my colleague, the Secretary General Mbabas was just so this one is still here. Mr. Geoffrey, Mr. Justice Akile, thank you so much. The audience, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for coming. It's been a very nice debate this evening, and I must tell you. And we happen like this every Friday. Please Kindly make it a point. Put it in your program every Friday from 5 p.m. We are here at Fairway Hotel. This show is fully sponsored by Fairway Hotel and TV Africa. And with you, the audience, we can make it happen. We can't be here if you don't come. So we actually ask you always to make it a point and come here. Thank you so much.
Dino wana pase pano, Jino shamisa. Jino wana pase pano, Jino shamisa.